So this is crypto security basics. Some paranoia is healthy. It's kind of a long presentation, but it's just going over some things to think about with security and some feedback on what's happened in the past, what we can do better. So first off, I'm a user, I'm a security professional. I've been around Bitcoin. I like reading about security. I've learned from my mistakes and others. I recommend you to do the same. History repeats itself. This is not a complete guide, no guarantee, not meant to scare you, and thank you to the open source software developers and security scene for doing all the cool things that you do. Generally, a lot of people trying to make things more secure and update. Why does security suck? It's annoying for the company and the customer. The company gets bothered. Oh, hey, I encrypted my stuff and I can't recover it. The customer has the same issue and they don't want to have the barriers to entry. In cryptocurrency, we treat Bitcoin exchanges like banks. Banks understand that they're going to have a certain amount of loss, so they just bake it into. They say, okay, this year we're going to have 10% stolen funds, so we bake that in, and then our insurance will cover it. So generally, if your credit card or your bank account gets hacked, your funds come right back to you. Well, Bitcoin isn't like that. If someone steals it, it's gone. So we need to have a higher level of security for our exchanges and for ourselves. Skilled hackers are very good at what they do, so kudos. Yes, there's a lot of people that are very smart that choose to break into systems and do other things, and unfortunately, that's the case. And infinite attempts, one mistake. A hacker can make infinite attempts to get in. They can try a million times, and if they get in once, you're ruined. So the advantage is on the hacker's side. So you can only make one big mistake, and they can make a million tries. So the perpetual industry, hackers break into things, security people patch it, so without hackers, we wouldn't have the security industry, which is huge, and we wouldn't need encryption and things like that. So basically, it's a symbiotic relationship, and it's a good business to be in because it just repeats. Bounty programs. So this guide isn't really for businesses, but if you're a business, Cobalt.io, HackerOne, host your own. Basically, you invite people to hack your system and you give them some money for doing so. And there's a lot of people that want to try and break in and do different things, and you can have an isolated instance, and if they get in, well, you give them some money. People are going to try to hack you anyways. You might as well give the opportunity to make $1,000 or something and break in. So if your business or your favorite exchange or business isn't using one, you should really ask for it because, personally, I think businesses and exchanges in the Bitcoin space that have bounty programs, I think have a little bit higher level of security. At least I trust them to put money behind that and pay people if they do get in. Weakest link, you may not need this guide. You may have a weak link. Think to yourself, what is the weakest link in my own security? And if you can identify that, well, that's a great improvement. And go ahead and do that and skip the rest of this guide. Don't own the keys, don't own the coins. Well, if you don't have the private keys, you just don't own the coins. Someone else does. You're trusting someone else. So ideally seek out opportunities or systems that allow you to keep ownership of your coins. And that way, the security of the coins is in your own domain. Hopefully, you're smart enough to do a better job than they are. Make backups. Just backup stuff. Backup your private keys, backup things. You're going to get wrecked. Your hard drive is going to break, whatever. Your house is going to fall down, and you need to have backups and things. So I'm just going to say, as a general rule, backups are good. So cold storage. Basically, you're admitting that anything connected to the network or internet is exploitable. So you're going to isolate it. You could generate addresses offline. Private key crypto doesn't require internet. You can put it on a device like an old phone with no internet, a USB stick, even a paper wallet, which I don't recommend because in the case of a fire or something or whatever, it could get damaged. You can use multi-sig, so you can have, say, a 2 of 3, and you have 3 keys, and each place only has one of the keys, so if one place gets exploited, they still need the other ones. You can also split up your private key. So you could take split it in half, and the hacker would only have the first half instead of, so sort of like uh, layman's way of doing multi-sig. And you can also encrypt the keys when you store them. So most wallets and paper wallet generation software let you set a password. So even if the person does see the key, they need a password to recover it. Have multiple safe backups. Don't be that person that lost their coins in the trash pile. And let's move on here. So hardware wallets, there's Ledger, Trezor, KeepKey. They're great. They add convenience and some physical security. They're not perfect. The fact that they're so convenient sort of gets rid of some of the security, so you have to take care and make sure that you don't just leave it around and that you use strong passwords. And you may be better off just making your own hardware wallet with a USB key or something like that. Multi-signature, a lot of exchanges and wallets allow this, so you can just use a multi-signature yourself, split out the keys or give it to someone you trust. Some compatible wallets are Armory, Bitalo, BitGo, Copay, Electrum, GreenAddress, mSigna. Copay is really easy. It's browser-based, and basically you can distribute to the key signers just very simply with an invite. Probably the most secure way is to run a full node. mSigna or Armory, you could do that, and use multi-signature rather than a single sign-on or a single key. What makes a good exchange? No perfect exchange. There's better and worse. Look at their security model, if it's defined. Look at their historical performance. Talk with their support or staff. This is kind of overlooked. If you're going to put a lot of money on an exchange, email them, call them, get in touch, see what they say, see if they can help guide you through what they're going to do and why they're something to be trusted. You could test with a small amount. If it's a really risky exchange, put a little bit there, see if you can withdraw it. If you're day trading, you really only need the keys there when you're actively the coins there when you're actively trading. So you only need to trust the service temporarily. So let's say you're trading and you have a few trades and then you're done, you transfer the coins out, and then when you need to trade again, you just send it back in. Exchanges are not wallets. If you don't need the coins there, you might as well just have them in your own domain, and it only takes 30 minutes or an hour or so to transfer coins back in, so probably you'll still have quick enough access if you need to get in. Also, you can use an OTC desk, so you can deal directly with somebody like IPIT Crypto Facilities and do a one-to-one transfer, your coins for dollars or whatever else you're looking for. And basically they'll do a multi-signature transaction, and instead of your coins being stuck in a pool of coins, you will get to do a single transaction peer-to-peer. This is how early Bitcoin was done with the IRC, and OTC gives you a little more security, but obviously they generally only deal with clients who are doing large amounts of coins. So you need to sell 50, 100 Bitcoins, whatever. OTC might be the way to go. Password and security questions. Use complex passwords, obviously, unique. You can use a password manager. Security questions are awful. Don't actually answer the security question. Put something else there. Put some gobbledygook or whatever, or put it. Use it like a password. Who's your best friend? Oh, I'll just check your Facebook. Something like that. That's not good. If you have to send a password or something like that over email or chat, use something like one-time secret. I use it. You can set a one-time password, and it basically puts the data or text, puts the text or password into a box, and the person visits the site, and they can recover what's there, and it's deleted. So basically, if a hacker or someone else is looking at your Skype or your Skype history or email history, they're not going to see the passwords. They're going to see a link, and when they click on the link, it's gone, right? This is a very common thing when people send you, hey, log into this, here's the password. You're like, you forget about it, and then they go back to your email. Well, with one-time secret, it's just a bunch of links, and they don't mean anything, and you can still get it. So very simple way to add a little bit of privacy security, because you never know who's reading your Skype or whatever. Email, obviously use a strong password. Use 2FA. Authenticator or Authy is much better than SMS. Security questions are awful. PGP is your friend. Don't use the email or drive or whatever to store sensitive information unencrypted. Your email is only so secure. Find another place to store information or encrypt it when you send an email to yourself. You can also use an email provider with disk encryption like Tutanota, tuta.io. Basically, if they get a legal request or if their service is hacked, all data is encrypted with user passwords. So it's not recoverable except for by the user. Attachments, it's trivial to embed malware in Excel, Word, and other things. I mean, there's tools, scripts that are available. Just don't open attachments unless you really need to. And if you need to, use something like Google Docs. You can open all kinds of different documents and it won't process the actual malicious code, but it will show you what's there. PGP, not that hard to set up. You could use Thunderbird and Enigmail or something else. Just Google how to set up PGP. It encrypts your email end to end, so if somebody's sniffing your traffic, it's encrypted on the way that it's sent, and the user has an encrypted file. You can exchange semi-private data, so if you're in a business and you have communications, using PGP means that if you were the DNC or Hillary or whatever, if they had used PGP, they got in, they would only see a bunch of garbage. So that's good for businesses, especially when people are trying to find drama or things like that and say, oh, you did something bad. Well, you never know who's going to get in, and you have to be careful about what you say. So with PGP, you can be a little less careful. You or the recipients could be compromised, so just keep in mind it's just like a Bitcoin private key. Someone gets a private key, well, they can read the messages. So it's not, a perfect thing. Hopefully you use a strong password. Most PGP keys use a password, and so even if they see the key, they'll still have to sniff your password. Software updates. Update your system, please. People scan IPs. They scan the entire internet, and any system with an issue that can be exploited, boom, they go in. And that's how people get ransomware and a lot of other things. They're not actually specifically targeting anyone. They're just, boom, casting a wide net, and if you're caught, you're caught. Security by obscurity. Apple and Linux are not necessarily more secure. Windows is way more targeted. I mean, it's 90% or something of the market share, so hackers just love just scanning for Windows exploits. But if you're a specific target, Mac Linux will not save you. Okay, there's ways to get in. So generally nobody's a specific target, but if they want to try hard enough, obviously most servers are Linux, things like that. There's documented ways to get into machines. Social engineering, well, it's an age-old art form. It's convincing someone that something's true, which isn't. Some targets are phone companies, server companies, ISPs, exchanges, So let's talk about phone companies. Okay, well, I call up, hey, this is so-and-so from AT&T. I'd like to port my new phone. So I have this new phone I bought, and I have this new phone the customer bought, and here's the EIN, and here's the information, and they port it over, and now you have that phone. And you can do things like SMS or push messages with retrieval, Telegram, all of that. A lot of that will be possible. Server companies, they might call up the server company and say, hey, really, it's late at night, I need access, blah, 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 ISPs, exchanges. So let's just talk about the individual. Beware of incoming file sends, people that you don't know and that are just trying to be nice, and they send you a file. That's how Bitstamp got wrecked. Email, be careful, but let's just say someone you do business with got hacked, and they send you an email, and it looks completely perfect. And they say, hey, this is Bob, I want you to send the normal 10 Bitcoin, right? Well, if it's a large amount, it's worth a phone call, right? Like, BitPay got wrecked. They sent 500 Bitcoin because somebody requested it and gave a different address. So if it's a business deal and you're unsure, just call the person. Hey, Bob, so you requested 500 Bitcoin. What was that shirt you wore at that bar that one time? Oh, it was a blue shirt. Okay, I know it's you. Or by the voice or whatever, right? Phone is a similar thing. They'll call, hey, I'm from corporate. Hey, hey, I'm from the exchange. chat, social media, all the same thing. Basically, trying to convince someone something is untrue, or something is true that's untrue. Um, it's there's so many different ways that things get done this way. There's a fantasy that all hacks are done by some crazy Russian guy with 10 screens and techno blaring, but a lot of it is done just the old school way. Weakest link. If you're going to attack a system, go for the weakest link first, and then work your way up. Let's be lazy about it, and if we can do it the lazy way, then that's the way to go. So SMS2FA, we just talked about how the phone is portable, so that might not be good. It doesn't expire quickly, so it sits there. You might consider Google Voice, something like Google Voice or some service where basically you can have an account and use two-factor authentication on that. And when you use SMS, it goes to there, it doesn't forward to your phone. And the person would need to log into the account in order to use two-factor authentication. SMS to your phone, I mean, I get it, it's easy, but like, imagine if your phone broke. Having Google Voice is really convenient. Google Authenticator, it's cool because it's time-based. It doesn't need internet connection, so basically it generates a key every, 20 seconds or something. And what you can actually do is, since it doesn't require the internet, you could put it on an old Android or iPhone, whatever you're not using, and use it as your cold storage authenticator. Basically, it doesn't have any internet connection, no Bluetooth, anything, but it still runs Authenticator, and it creates the correct keys. So that's one sort of interesting thing you can do, is use a separate device for Authenticator. Some browser extensions, just you're going to be browsing HTTPS everywhere, enforces SSL, so if the site doesn't auto make it SSL, it'll make the site SSL encrypted. Privacy Badger, do not track. They get rid of some of the tracking things that might be sort of figuring out where you're going around the internet. Doesn't really matter that much. AdBlock Plus, uBlock Origin, they just make your life better, and they might block some malicious ads and things. NoScript is what a lot of people use, Tor type people. Basically, most browser exploits are Java, Flash, some complex thing. If you disable those, you have a much safer browsing experience. I mean, if you want to go really nerdy, you can use links and browse the web by command line. But basically, it's going to be hard to browse the web. But if you're really concerned, if it's a machine that has critical things on it, you might want to disable some of those nice looking flashy things that are enabled on websites for the sake of your own good. VPNs encrypts traffic point to point, so if somebody's in the middle, they can't see what's going on. Inbound attacks are not trivial, so if you force all connections to be the VPN, which you can Google how to do that for your system, or you can use a client like AirVPN, which does that. Basically, if someone wants to have an inbound attack, it's very difficult because you're going through a server that many people are using, so it's difficult to target you. Privacy claims are probably oversold. Well, IP is not the only thing that people can track. It's cookies and browser size and stuff like that. So if you're really looking for privacy, I mean, you probably do a little bit more than VPN, but I don't worry about that. I mean, maybe the man knows that I really like a certain type of coffee or whatever, that's okay. I'm just looking for improved security for my system. Tor, it's not just for the bad guys. Really, the only thing I would use it for is if you have a full node, enable Tor support. You can do that with Bitcoin Core. So basically what happens is people that are running full nodes, all those IPs get scanned because it's broadcasting like, hey, I have Bitcoin here. So maybe your ISP doesn't like that. Maybe somebody's trying to attack those computers. And if you use Tor for your full node, basically the address will not be crawlable, will not be on the public net, so people will not see. So if you're going to run a full node, which is really, really quite good, it's probably better to use Tor support. Password managers, easy to manage many unique and complex passwords. They encrypt the passwords. You can store text, so it's not really meant for that, but you could store private keys and things like that. It's a good lazy way to do it temporarily, but you might not. You might want to seek something else long term. They themselves recommend you use two-factor as well. Passwords are not great. People can reset passwords. Just having a strong password isn't good enough these days. Some options are LastPass and 1Password. I think they're great. I think it's a great option, but it's part of your toolkit, two-factor as well, and you're probably doing better than 97.2% of the people out there. Encrypted storage. Why not encrypt your disk? I don't know. Linux has LVM Lux, so basically you can encrypt your entire disk, so at startup it will not start without it, as well as OS X File Vault and Windows BitLocker. So you can research those. If you lose the password or you try to put it into another computer and you don't have the password and such, it's basically impossible to recover. So yes, you want to make backups, you want to make sure maybe encrypt the backups and such, but if you encrypt your full disk and your computer's turned off or you shut your computer, it's pretty hard for people to recover it. Now, there are some attacks in memory and things like that, but basically it's a really nice way. You leave the house, you turn your computer off, it's encrypted, so if someone tries to grab your disk, well, it's just useless. I find it a little annoying sometimes to encrypt the full disk, so you can use disk images. Vercrypt is the best option for that, and basically what it does is it creates sort of like an encrypted volume or like a USB stick type thing. You set aside some 10 gigs or whatever, and then you put your information in there, and it can only be mounted with a password. Uses strong encryption, has options like hidden storage, so even if someone opens it, there's a second layer, so it looks like it's empty, or you could fill it with some garbage files and then put your important files on the hidden volume inside of it. Encrypted VMs are really nice, so you can use Oracle VirtualBox to start like a light Linux or Windows operating system and do your work in there. You could disable networking, things like that, and then when you're done, just close it and it's encrypted. And make sure you choose that option, and you can back up that file pretty safely, and so you have like a entire computer saved, encrypted, and whenever you need access to that, you can have your setup and everything there. Encrypted text databases, I like KeePass or KeePass X. Basically allows you to have something like LastPass, but you're doing it locally. You can use a password and a private key file, and what it will do is whatever information you store there, it's encrypted, and if anyone tries to get access, they won't be able to without the password. So it's basically like Notepad, except for it has a very, very strong password. And I know a lot of people like to do that. They open Notepad, they save a few information. I'm going to delete this later. They never do. Boom, wrecked, So might as well just use something like this. I don't know why Notepad doesn't have just an encrypted option or something. Exploits, phishing, man-in-the-middle, cross-site scripting. More complex attackers, generally they'll infect the site or they'll try to attack you directly. If your system's exploitable, boom, if they get to your IP or your computer, you're wrecked. So there's not much you can do, but you can use encryption. You could have encrypted VMs. You could fall back on your cold storage. So you I mean, this is the part where you can get crazy and then think like, oh no, like how do I know if I'm hacked or not? So you kind of want to take some measures there, especially if you're a big business or something. Most intrusions are automated, so they just scan the web, they install adware, keyloggers, ransomware. So if you're running just an old version of Windows that hasn't been updated in 6 months, you'll probably get hit eventually. Post-exploitation scenario, well, the hacker's going to try to take control of your system in some way. Generally, that is installing things on your system, which is adware, ransomware, anything that basically they can monetize your computer. And often these computers are sold to other people. So a hacker will have 10,000 and they'll sell them to someone else, and that person will install whatever they want to install. It's kind of a marketplace for infected computers, right? The architecture is designed not to be detectable, so even with the best tools, you may not be able to tell if it's a really, really talented person. You may never tell. It may be, so deep as its firmware or You know, um, the best thing you can do is just be preventative and be smart and use cold storage for the important things and assume that, eventually you might get wrecked, but you just, you want to laugh about it. Oh, I got wrecked and they got some pictures or something, versus like, oh, I lost all my money. So the best thing you can do is just be preventative. But yeah, eventually you'll find out, ideally, and you'll correct whatever happened. Decentralized codes, it's a raw space. Like the DAO got hacked, things get hacked, smart contracts. Oh, it's so smart, whatever. It's not that smart if it got hacked. Like, who's an expert? I don't know. I mean, it's such a new space. We don't know who the expert is. Like with the DAO, it was reviewed by everyone, and it was supposed to be secure and stuff like that. Well, I mean, first off, if someone says something's 100% secure, you should be careful. Second, it's just too new. Like, some of the smartest people in the world are not working on smart contract code security. You can do your best. You can try to audit it. You can try to you see if it's got information about it, but it's a very raw space. So I'm hesitant to trust smart contracts that aren't like tested for months and months. So the DAO, for instance, should have been tested for 6 months. Should have been in the wild, and people were using fake credits, and it was going and going and going. And eventually, it got wrecked by somebody, but they just put it out in the wild. Boom. I'm sort of against that. So, look for smart contracts and things that have been tested for a significant period of time before they went into the wild, and don't trust all your money to code right away. Except Bitcoin, things like that. Like, in that case, it's been tested a lot. It's been around for a while, right? Bitcoin has a number of smart contracts, multi-sig, BIP32, all of that, but that all went through rigorous testing. So that's sort of the advantage you have there. So I hope this helped. Thank you for listening. And yeah, 27 minutes. So I don't know. I have some things to change now myself. So I will do that. Thanks for watching.